Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello. Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics. And I've told you before that I've got a bunch of digest-sized comics. I've done episodes on the Gold Key Digest Comics and several of the DC Digest Comics and Marvel Digest Comics, and now I'm moving to Archie, not exclusively, but to Archie Digest Comics, and I have a bunch of those. I still have a bunch more of the DC Digest Comics to share with you. Okay, and this is just a small sampling. These are all older ones. But first I want to kind of share this one with you a little bit. This is, of course, Life with Archie, and it is standard paperback pocketbook type book. It's from I think it was 71 or 72. I've forgotten which one. And this is in really good shape, except for a little bend in the back cover here, and of course the price sticker on the back from the thrift store that I got it. And one of the unusual things about this is that most of these that were done in this size were the art from the original pages was broken up to when they did the paste up for the book pages, and here they just reduced all the original art down to this size instead of breaking it up to have a little larger image on the page. And this is Life with Archie. What would life be without Archie? Who knows? And then this is it's not an Archie, but it's solo. And I don't have anything else to include it with. This is Shocking Tales. And from, I think this was 82. And now, surprisingly, this is from Harvey Comics. Harvey, who did Casper and Wendy and Richie Rich and all those little cutesy stuff. Well, in the 50s, they also had some more of the horror, science fiction and horror stuff, and this is reprinting some of that. But what's really neat in here is it's got a good deal of Jack Kirby art, and I can't necessarily identify the other artists, but I do really identify Jack Kirby. Got some really cool Kirby stuff in here. Of course, this would have been from the 50s. This one here is a really cool story, and I'll mention that another time. But yeah, this is a real cool Jack Kirby story. And of course, this is probably at the time he was still working at also either just before or still working at Atlas Marvel before it became Marvel, doing the same kind of stuff. This is some science fiction and some horror. 50s horror. Okay. And then here, this is I don't know if they ever published any more of these or not, because this is the only one I've ever seen. This is, see, what does it say here? It says, "In the footsteps of the Maltese falcon and the blackbird, in full color, he's smarter than Marlowe, shorter than Spade, slow-mo Raven, public detective." But by Byron Priest and Tom Sutton. It's illustrated fiction. I think they were trying to do some stuff like this to get them into regular bookstores. This is from '76, so this is before there was much in the way of comic book shops. And this would have been probably trying to get on the newsstand or in regular bookstores. And it is, of course, illustrated, and it's not exactly comic format, but it's somewhere, and drawn by Tom Sutton, who is known for doing a lot of good stuff from it. And it is humor. It is strictly humor, parody all the way of the hard-boiled detective. Now we're getting to the Archie stuff, but here. So, again, all of these books are from the 70s and possibly early 80s. And this was, okay, yeah, Archie's Superhero Special. And this is all stained up. I got it that way. Most of these I get at thrift stores. And this is all stained up, and I managed to clean it up a little bit. And I've had these for years. Superhero, okay, this is a Superhero Special. Archie Superhero Special. So, it's got, primarily have Pure Heart the Powerful stories. We mentioned that before with Captain Hero and Evil Heart and all those. But one of the interesting things is here, yeah, they also reprinted the Archie MLJ superheroes from the 60s. Some of them, that was the Jaguar. It's got Lancelot Strong version of the Shield. And it starts off with right off with the Black Hood. And that is real fun and interesting. And I have another one that is, of course, Captain Hero. I talked about Captain Hero before, and we probably will again. But of course, Captain Hero, and this is, although it is Captain Hero, it has Pure Heart stories, both with and without Captain Hero, as well as some reprinting some of those. Maybe not. I thought this one also had stories from the other heroes, but I don't see it. And one of the things, yeah, here it is. As neat is that this has a story in which the villain is Mad Dr. Doom, and Mad Dr. Doom was a frequent villain of Little Archie stories. And they moved him over into supervillain status with Pure Heart. Okay, and then we have another Superhero Comics Digest #2. This is and this highlights Captain. This is while it also has some of the humorous Archie characters, super characters, Pure Heart the Powerful, and such. It also highlights the Black Hood. Now, notice this art is different. Now, this is Gray Morrow doing this stuff, and it even has, of course, we have Jack Kirby doing the Shield. That's the Lancelot Strong version of the Shield. But they also throw in a couple of horror stories, and this one is one by Wally Wood. Yeah, I never thought I'd see Wally Wood in an Archie comic. But yeah, it's Wally Wood. And Jaguar. Again, but I wanted to get back here. Here we go. Here we go. Now, this is another Black Hood story. And this is with art by Al McWilliams, who I spoke about with Masters of the Universe and Star Trek. Where's that? The Web. And the Fox. Now, the Fox is kind of a lesser-known character until recently, just a few years ago. Archie printed an all-new Fox mini-series that was very well received, and it was tongue-in-cheek. Now, here's what I was wanting to show. Here is a story, again, a Black Hood story, and these are not from the 60s. This was done by art. I forgot who wrote it. Might have been Denny O'Neil. Neil Adams and Dick Giordano doing the artwork. Now, from what I understand, for a time because this is from the late 70s, before Archie started bringing out their superheroes again in the mid 80s, they were thinking of putting out a new Black Hood and wanted to kind of reboot the Black Hood, and I guess they did the stories, the whole schmear, but never published it as a standalone comic. and that's what this stuff is from. But they incorporated it into this. And I could be wrong. This is what I have heard about, if I even remember it correctly. And then this version of the Black Hood was used years later when they did bring back their costumed heroes. Now, away from the superheroes, and you can see the price sticker from the thrift store. Archie Andrews, where are you? You don't even see that title anymore. Again, from the mid 70s, and this also has a Pure Heart story in it that I want to read. That's why it's got tagged in there. I haven't read it. And just regular Archie stories, various creators. The standard teen humor, hijinks. Archie getting in trouble by accident, doing some stupid thing to get which gets him into trouble with the girls. Trying to date the girls, trying to date other girls, and these girls get jealous. You name it. But they also sometimes in these, I don't see it so much in here, have some of a little bit more adventure. Some of the more adventure reprint stories. I kind of like the Archie reprints, Archie adventure stories. That were often a half or a whole issue of the standard comics. But also one of the neat things is in here, Archie Comics Digest, just Archie Comics Digest. This is again from this is from '82, and reprinting. Again, you're reprinting your standard stuff. But one of the neat things about these is that they're reprinted from different eras, and you get to see some of this stuff from the 50s and 60s, and sometimes even the 40s. This is really neat. The whole gamut. Another Archie Comics Digest, full color, 60 cents. This thing's really rough, but you get what you can. I just opened it. It happened to be another Pure Heart story, and more of the same. But you also get a good view of some of the different artists and how this style. This is kind of neat because this said talk about Little Archie. Okay, Little Archie is. I always kind of like the Little Archie, and like Little Archie is more competent than grown-up Archie for the most part, because he's always in these wild adventures, and he's the hero. And that's one thing that was neat. They're more adventurous, and his villain often up against the villain of Mad Dr. Doom. Here's one. Here, this isn't, but this is someone haunted with a haunted house, pretending to be a witch or something, like a goofy thing like that. Silly, fun, silly. And Jughead with Archie. More of the same. They're all as more little jinx. What you get to see. And oh yeah, there's the shield, the original shield. Jughead, Archie, Jughead stories, and then. And often these were seasonally themed, at least on the cover. Sometimes you can get some that aren't. The whole thing is, or most of it is themed. Again, more of the same. This one was one of my favorite. I had the original comic book that this story was printed in, and it was one of my favorites because it's a Western parody with the Archie characters as Western characters in the. Like from the old 40s and 50s Western movies, and with this goofy sidekicks and stuff. And this is some really nice artwork in this too. I like that one. More of the same. Little Archie, Little Archie, and Grown Up Archie. And here we have another Archie annual. This is an Archie, again, thrift store. You can, it has here the kinds of stories in it. Just take a little peek, little games. I can't. Archie, Little Archie. Um, and they're another Pure Heart. And I have said before that when they did their superheroes, their costumes and stuff and powers were inconsistent. Here he doesn't even have his cape. That's kind of silly. And had some stuff from the get a little Archie. This is he saves his mom from a mugger. He learned going to karate classes when he's a little kid, and then that his mom is mugged, and he uses the karate that he learned to beat up the mugger because he was taken totally by surprise. And that's a neat story. More Archie. Now, this is still from Archie, but it's not about Archie. Madhouse Comics Digest. I have a few of these Madhouse comics. Okay, Archie did Madhouse, and they were kind of a little like EC's Mad comics from the 50s, but they had some different stories, but some things kind of similar. There's a lot of parody. They had a musical group called the Madhouse Glads, who were recurring characters and in various adventures, such as this here. Some regular teens, some not. They had some silly stories. Here is a parody of commercials, and they're thrown together. The commercial characters thrown together from the time period, from the 60s. Sabrina the Teenage Witch first showed up in Madhouse. They don't do Madhouse anymore. Haven't for a long time. Talking Dodgers. They had some spacey stuff, science fiction-y stuff, all humor. Look at aliens. There's a whole section here just alien stuff. And then have their space stuff, and then they usually have a little section with it's about superhero-y stuff, and it's a goofy character. It's a mad ad monster and more silly stuff. Flips. It's just all kind of funny stuff. Kitty humor, Mads, and they even had their own superhero. Here's a whole superhero section. It's just poking fun at superheroes in general. But they had here he is, Captain Sprocket, who was a recurring superhero character, and he was totally incompetent, even worse than Archie is Pure Heart. And then we have another Madhouse, and I happen to have 2 copies of this. Madhouse, and it's more of the same. Also, funny animal, Super Duck. Just give you a little overview. That's surprisingly sexy in the art here. Which was this one? I don't know. It's Captain Sprocket, yeah. Danny and the Dimwit. Silly stuff. Super Duck, who was seldom a superhero. He's just a duck. This is kind of neat. This bird monster from outer space, and it's a parody of all kinds of invasion, alien stuff. But the thing is, they rip off. The artist here rips off a lot of Wally Wood images here, like that. There was from Super Duper Man from the Mad, which I had a few, and incorporates some other comic strip characters and TV characters. Even has that's Goldfinger from James Bond. There you see Dick Tracy, and right here, yeah. I think it was, is that Rip Kirby or Secret Agent X9? I can't remember. But that looks like it was cut right out of the original comic strip and pasted up. Same thing with the figure image there. And then there with the caricature of Napoleon Solo from the Man from U.N.C.L.E., and that is taken directly from a Mad comic, a Mad magazine. And there's James Bond, and so, and that's the same one there, Madhouse Digest Comics, and just kind of more of the same, only a little different. Or here's now this is kind of funny because a Sabrina story, but whoever, I'm not totally unfamiliar with this artist, but I've seen 2 or 3 Sabrina the Teenage Witch stories that he did, and his style is different. Sabrina doesn't look anything like the Sabrina that we know and love. Really, very. You can see the very slender. There's another Sabrina story I've seen with his art, and it's just different. It's not the standard Archie style. These are. And here's they have a more adventurous. You know, it's the Madhouse Glads and the Secret of Carswell Crypt. And I liked these kind of when they did a more adventure story, just once in a while. I really liked those. Of course, they're still tongue-in-cheek, but still a bit more serious. Mad Ad Monster, Madhouse Glads, and again, all from decades past. Even this is the last one. See, this is more like it. It's not. Oh, she looks like Sabrina, but it's not. Stretch Strategy, and this is just the goofy stories with this guy who's able to stretch. No reason why, he just does. Captain Shark. Remember, a lot of this stuff was from the 60s, so they had a lot of the rock bands, had, of course, a lot of camp superhero stuff, parodying both comics and the TV shows, and, of course, secret agent stuff, because that was real big. And a lot of this art style you don't ever see anymore, this particular kind of style. Silly stuff, silly stuff. The Lanolites, oh yeah, and a lot of cheap sci-fi. Mostly inspired by 50s stuff, movies from the 50s and the like. Space section, see, yeah, because it has, they do some, like space section and superhero section or just hero section, and which is kind of like what early Mad Comic did when they had horror department and crime department and stuff like that, and they so it's kind of following on with that and that tradition a little bit. And okay, so that's all. That's a lot of good reading, and I got a bunch more, but that's what we're going to do today, and this ran longer than I had intended. So thank you for joining me, and keep taking a look at the in the thrift stores, because that's where you find these. You very seldom see these in the comic book shops, thrift stores, and sometimes in secondhand bookstores. So thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment, and we'll see some more Digest Comics again. Trust me. But I'll have more regular book reviews, and I intend sometime to be talking about those you see in the background too, and some more. So thank you.